Bold predictions back in August were fun. See, it's consequence-free in August. Anyone can just say anything they want to, but I put out the challenge to you. I said, don't just speak freely. Pretend you have to bet money on this stuff. Now, what do you have to say to me? And some of you still went pretty bold. For example, how about this first one? Brett said, my bold prediction, no Georgia or Alabama in this year's college football playoff. Of course, that was never going to happen, Brett. I told you at the time. I did not think that was going to happen. I put a 9.3 on a scale of 1 to 10 boldness on this one. And my quote was, if one of these teams misses the playoff, there's a high likelihood it's because of the other one. Now, it turns out that wasn't the case. But it didn't matter because Georgia made it anyway. Georgia had room to lose and still make it in for the second year in a row, only they didn't lose this time around. Number 1 and number 2 were Georgia and Alabama in preseason odds. Backwards. Bama was 1, Georgia was 2. I just didn't see a world where neither of them made it in. And that did not happen. So 9.3, that one misses. Pay up, Brett. I can't remember the dollar amount we agreed on. Next up, this one's unfortunate. Cautionary tale on this bold prediction. Isaiah Nair from Cole Thompson. Isaiah Nair will become the number 1 receiver at Texas. He'll win the Biletnikoff with over 1,300 receiving yards and 10-plus touchdowns. Isaiah Nair was lost for the season like the second week of fall camp, and we never got to see him. And I thought he was going to have a terrific campaign. I don't know if he's going to win the Biletnikoff. Wouldn't have surprised me, though. He was really good at Wyoming. He was stepping into the perfect situation. He was going to be there on the field with Jordan Whittington and Xavier Worthy, and instead, those were your 2 leading receivers. I think Worthy went for 760 yards. Whittington had 652. They didn't even have a 1,000-yard receiver this year, which is a shame. It may very well indicate that Isaiah Nair would have been that guy. But this is also a valuable lesson for you when it comes to win total betting. You know, there are a lot of times where you look at preseason over-under win totals and you're shocked at how low some of them are. Now, Texas's was pretty high up there, but in general terms, you look and you say, I can't believe how low that win total is. And then you lick your index finger. I just touched my lip there. Kind of enticing if I do say so myself. But you lick that index finger, you crack open your preview magazine, and you look at that nice, pristine, unbothered roster, and you say, how could this team only have a win total of 7? This looks like a 9-win team. It probably is. That team's not going to finish the season. You're going to have red Sharpie through several of those names unless you become the first team in history to never have an injury. Well, odds makers have to take that possibility into account, and they have to bake it in, because if odds makers were to just put out an over-under win total on the open betting market that doesn't factor in injuries, they'd get hammered to death on unders, because everyone would bet unders. Well, everyone who's smart would bet unders, like we did with Texas, actually. We made money off betting the under on Texas because it was too high, and it's because, in part, stuff like this happened. It's not that you want it to happen. It's not even that you know when it's going to happen. It's just, to one degree or another with every program, it's an inevitability there will be injuries. Can you limit them and keep them from being your star players is the great wild card. But that stuff has to be factored in. Those odds makers' jobs are not easy. Those numbers are not easy to set. But sometimes when they're a little bit lower than maybe you think, it's because you may be thinking in best case terms. They can't put out a number that's best case on that front. Next up, this one's interesting, and I'm going to say it hit. Here's the prediction. Nick Singleton, running back, freshman running back for Penn State. He will be 2022's Travion Henderson. He's going to rush for 100-plus yards. I think he meant 1,000-plus yards and 10-plus touchdowns this season. He did rush for over 1,000 yards. He did rush for over 10 touchdowns. That hit. And if you look at the stat profile, Travion Henderson's 2021 with Ohio State was phenomenal. He averaged 6.81 yards per carry. Nick Singleton, on a few less attempts this past year, had 1,061 yards, had 6.8 yards per carry, almost identical. If you calibrate for the fact that Henderson had more attempts, they're almost identical stat profiles. The difference is Travion Henderson a lot more active in the passing game than Nick Singleton was this past year. Watch that change this coming fall. That's probably a focal point of Nick Singleton's game this fall. Also, Nick Singleton split carries a lot. So they didn't run him to death. That is the approach that any sound-minded coaching staff is taking now with running backs. No one's running a running back 40 times a game. Or at least you shouldn't have to, because you should be recruiting well enough, which they are at Penn State. Next up, this was dead on arrival. Jacob, what are you thinking? Jacob said no Big 12 or Big 10 team will make the college football playoff. Narrator, 75% of the college football playoff was Big 10 or Big 12. How is this ever going to happen? I can't believe I only put a 9 on this. This should have been our first 10. The Big 12, I get. Even the Big 12 wasn't left out, though. But the Big 12, yeah, I could have seen that. How in the world was the Big 10 going to be left out? Did you see those schedules? How was the Big 10 going to be left out? If not Michigan, then Ohio State. If not Ohio State, then Michigan. And if neither of them, then James Franklin and Penn State's probably shocked the world. Or someone's done something incredible in the West. So, yeah, this was a disastrous prediction. Not quite as disastrous as the next one, though. I say all this in good fun. You get to live in my world now. You see, I gotta just put it on the line in August. I gotta make all these proclamations in front of God and everyone, and then you get to take them and throw them in my face in December. This is my only recourse. It's the only time I get to dish out this medicine. How about this? How about this little prediction from Jackson? A healthy Casey Thompson is a Heisman finalist. I'm sorry. Can we start over? We're live, pal. A healthy Casey Thompson is a Heisman finalist with his Heisman moment coming at Michigan. Casey Thompson had a 17-10 touchdown interception ratio this year. Nebraska went 4-8. I don't even know if Casey Thompson could find New York City on a map. He probably can, but it was not going to be because he went there this year as a Heisman finalist. And I don't think that was ever in the cards. And I said that in August because I put a 9.1 on the boldness scale on this one. Casey Thompson's head coach was out by week 4, and that's all she wrote on that prediction.
Guys, thanks for watching Late Kick. Make sure and leave a comment. I love interacting with you, but most of all, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. That's how we keep all of this free.